Previously, we looked at Israel during the wilderness wandering phase, how they set up camp, and the locations of the different tribes, where they were positionally around the tent of meeting. We also looked at the order of marching, who was the vanguard and who was taking up the rear. Now we're going to be looking more in at the layout of the area right around the tabernacle itself, how the Levites will go about their business. Numbers 3 and 1. Now these are the generations of Aaron and Moses, when the Lord spoke with Moses on Mount Sinai. We always have a genealogy before we get to the real meat of the matter. It's like a play where you have all the parties introduced beforehand, before delegating the tasks to the individuals, so that you have a better perspective of the scenario at hand. Numbers 3 and 2. These are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab, the firstborn, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. 3 and 3. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the priests who were anointed, whom Aaron consecrated and ordained to minister in the priest's office. At the end of the book of Exodus, we saw Aaron become the high priest, and his two sons, his oldest son and his second oldest son, joined him and became priests as well. And they were to serve the Lord. They were to do things in the tabernacle to make sure that it ran smoothly and look after the different offerings and other types of work that priests do inside the tabernacle. And their first foray into looking after the tabernacle did not quite go as planned, as we'll be reminded of in a second. Numbers 3 and 4. But Nadab and Abihu died before the Lord, when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. So Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest's office, in the presence and under the supervision of Aaron, their father. So we have mention here of strange fire. Some say that they were drinking on the job. They were participating in the wine, and God didn't really appreciate that and struck them dead. Others say that they got the fire from the wrong source, for they were supposed to light their lantern with particular fire, and they didn't light it with the right fire, and then they were going to use that to light something else on fire, and because it wasn't the right flame or right fire origin, that they were offering weird fire, strange fire to the Lord, and he didn't like that. So we can't say for sure exactly what happened, but we do know the result, that they were struck dead, and because they had no descendants, because normally as a heretical priesthood it would have went to their sons, but because they didn't have any sons, it went to the next children of Aaron. Numbers 3 and 5. And the Lord said to Moses, 3 and 6, Bring the tribe of Levi near, and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister to him. Moses and his two sons are very overworked. They have way too much on their plate. They need some helpers. So we have the Lord taking the tribe of Levi from Israel as an offering, and dedicating them towards the service of the tabernacle and God's things. Numbers 3 and 7. And they shall carry out his instructions and the duties connected with the whole assembly before the tent of meeting, doing the service of the tabernacle. 3 and 8. And they shall keep all the instruments and furnishings of the tent of meeting, and take charge of attending the Israelites to serve in the tabernacle. 3 and 9. And you shall give the Levites as servants and helpers to Aaron and his sons. They are wholly given to him from among the Israelites. Reinforcements have arrived, and now we have more people, more individuals to help with the maintenance and functionality of the tabernacle and the holy things and the transport, the setup, the tear down. And we're going to see in a second how the different duties and roles and responsibilities are going to be delegated out so that it works as a well-oiled machine. Numbers 3 and 10. And you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall observe and attend to their priest's office. But the excluded, any one daring to assume priestly duties or privileges, who is not of the house of Aaron and called of God, who comes near the holy things, shall be put to death. We have two parts here, two things going on. First, Aaron and his sons are in a command position. They're to oversee things, to observe and command and direct that, they're kind of running the show, so to say. So they can direct the Levites. If something needs to be done, they can delegate it, and what needs to be done will happen. The second part of this is looking at the forbidden entry into the tabernacle, and if people don't have the right permission, they don't have the key card to get in there, or whatever, that there is the death penalty for those that enter in without permission. That they're not the sons of Aaron, and they're not called by God, right? If God calls you in, you can go in. Otherwise, it's exclusively for the sons of Aaron that are the priests, that they have been anointed, set apart, for that is their duty. Numbers 3:11. And the Lord said to Moses, 3 and 12. Behold, I have taken the Levites from among the Israelites instead of every firstborn who opens the womb among the Israelites, and the Levites shall be mine. 3 and 13. For all the firstborn are mine. On the day that I slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated for myself all the firstborn in Israel, both man and beast. Mine they shall be. I am the Lord. So God wants the tribe of Levi. He has a purpose for them. He wants them to run the ministry. But he's not simply just going to go in there and take these people as a bandit. He is going to do an exchange. He is going to pay a price for the Levites. Now, back when we were in Egypt, and there was all the miracles that were performed to free the Israelites, the final miracle was the Passover event. And the Israelites painted their doors with blood, so that when the angel of the Lord flew over the city and destroyed all the firstborn, he spared the Israelites. But there was a cost to this. All the firstborn would belong to God, that they would be separated and consecrated to the Lord. And they could be redeemed. You could pay money to get your firstborn back, but otherwise it belongs to God. So now we're seeing here that God owns the firstborn of all of Israel, and he is going to do an exchange of the firstborn at this juncture in time. All the firstborn of Israel here on this journey, he is going to exchange the firstborn of Israel to pay proportionally for the tribe of Levites, so that the Levites will become his dedicated tribe, purchased for the price of the firstborn that he owns of Israel. So a survey is going to need to be done to determine the amount of Levites as well as the amount of firstborns in the nation of Israel, to determine what the discrepancy is, or what is the difference that needs to either be paid out of pocket or refunded to the people. 3:14. And the Lord said to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. 3:15. Number the sons of Levi by their father's house and by families. Every male from a month old and upward you shall number. 3:16. So Moses numbered them as he was commanded by the word of the Lord. So we have Moses being commanded and directed to count the number of males in the tribe of Levi from 1 month old and up. So essentially every male in the tribe of Levi. This is different than the survey we saw before, which was pretty much men 20 years old and upwards. It didn't count the children. It was essentially a count of the fighting strength or the war power or the labor power of the people of Israel. So this is a very different count here. And we're going to see how this is done. Numbers 3:17. These were the sons of Levi by their names: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. In the previous chapter, we were looking at the individual tribes of Israel and how many descendants each of these patriarchs had. Now we're looking at the sons of Levi and taking a more fine-tooth comb and counting these individuals. So we see that Levi had 3 sons. Numbers 3:18. And these are the names of the sons of Gershon by their families: Libni and Shimei. 3:19. The sons of Kohath by their families: Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. 3:20. The sons of Merari by their families: Mahali and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites by their fathers' houses. So there's a couple things that we're going to be looking at here. First is the absolute number of males that are in the tribe of Levi. That is one aspect. There's another aspect in the division of labor. There's a lot of things that need to be done to operate the tabernacle, to move the tabernacle, to set it up and to take it down, and who's in charge of the maintenance and whatnot. So that needs to be divided as well. And the way to divide the family is by the sons and the grandsons. Levi had 3 sons and 8 grandsons. And as such, the descendants of those grandsons, they can be grouped into different categories, and then they can have different responsibilities based on their lineage. It's also kind of cool because we have special names for each one of these grandsons to denote them, almost like the same way that we had the tribes of Israel. Now we have like the tribes of Levi and the subdivisions of Levi and who is a descendant of whom. Numbers 3:21. Of Gershon were the family of the Libanites and of the Shemanites. These are the families of the Gershonites. 3:22. The males who were numbered of them from a month old and upward totaled 7,500. 3:23. The families of the Gershonites were to encamp behind the tabernacle on the west. So here we have the descendants of the firstborn son, 7,500 in total. And we have the locations that they are going to be camping. They're going to be camping on the west side. Numbers 3:24. The leader of the fathers' houses of the Gershonites, being Elisapha, son of Lael. 3:25. And the responsibility of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting was to be the tabernacle, the tent, its covering, and the hangings for the door of the tent of meeting. 3:26. And the hanging of the court, the curtain for the door of the court which is around the tabernacle, and the altar, its cords, and all the service pertaining to them. So Eliasaph is the elder of the Gershonites. And the Gershonites, they're looking after carrying the tabernacle's curtains, coverings, hangings. They got a bunch of other stuff going on there, but that's the condensed version. Numbers 3:27. Of Kohath were the family of the Amramites, the Izharites, the Hebronites, and the Uzzielites. These are the families of the Kohathites. 3:28. The number of all the males from a month old and upward totaled 8,600, attending to the duties of the sanctuary. 329. The families of the sons of Kohath were to encamp on the south side of the tabernacle. So now we have the Korathites, and their number is greater than the Gershonites at 8,600, and they're going to be camping on the south side. Numbers 330. The chief of the fathers' houses of the families of the Kohathites, being Eliasaph's son of Uzziel. 331. Their charge was to be the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, and the utensils of the sanctuary, with which the priest minister, and the screen, and all the service having to do with these. So now we have the elder of the Korathites being Uzziel, and the Korathites, they are carrying the most sacred objects, right? They have the Ark of the Covenant, the altar, and the menorah. So that altar, that'll be the altar of incense. Numbers 332. Eleazar's son of Aaron, the priest, was to be chief over the leaders of the Levites, and have the oversight of those who had charge of the sanctuary. We see Aaron the high priest mentioned here, and that is because he is of this tribe. He is of Eleazar, and he has a lot of responsibility. Numbers 333. Of Merari were the families of the Mahlites and the Mushites. These are the families of Merari. 334. Their numbers of all the males from a month old and upward totaled 6,200. 335. And the head of the fathers' houses of the families of Merari was Zurel, son of Abihail. The Merarites were to encamp on the north side of the tabernacle. So here we have the final son, Merari, and this is the smallest one that we have seen, the smallest tribe, at 6,200. And Zuriel is the leader. He is the old man who is the elder of this grouping. And we see that they are on the north side. Numbers 336. And the appointed charge of the sons of Merari was the boards or frames of the tabernacle, and its bars, pillars, sockets, or bases, and all the accessories or instruments of it, and all the work connected with them. 337. And the pillars of the surrounding court and their sockets or bases, with their pegs and their cords. Merari is looking after the remainder of items for the tabernacle, the frames, the boards, the pillars, the bases, everything that is left. And all the tribes, they do maintenance and look after the items that they're in charge of as well. So that's what keeps everything going, because it's going to be quite a journey, and some of this stuff could be damaged, and they need to be able to repair it and to maintain it during this wilderness wandering phase. Numbers 338. But those to encamp before the tabernacle toward the east, before the tent of meeting, towards the sunrise, were to be Moses and Aaron and his sons, keeping the full charge of the rites of the sanctuary in whatever was required of the Israelites, and the excluded one not a descendant of Aaron and called of God, who came near the sanctuary, was to be put to death. So the east is the entrance to the tabernacle. So in many ways it is the most important side of the tabernacle, because it is the entrance and it is the exit. And we see that Aaron and his sons are here and Moses is here. So the bigwigs are here on this side, right near the entrance to the tabernacle. Numbers 339. All the Levites whom Moses and Aaron numbered at the command of the Lord by their families, all males from a month old and upward, were 22,000. Here we have the final count. The tallies are in. The Levites, the males 1 month old and up, 22,000. This is a very important number, as we'll see in a second. Numbers 340. And the Lord said to Moses, number all the firstborn of the males of the Israelites from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. This is probably more complicated to do, tracking down all the firstborns of the Israelites. I guess he could probably delegate it to the same fellas he did before and come back with the correct answer. Or maybe a couple days went by and Moses manually went around and did this counting. But Numbers 341. You shall take the Levites for me instead of all the firstborn among the Israelites. I am the Lord, and you shall take the cattle of the Levites for me instead of all the firstlings among the cattle of the Israelites. So here we have that idea again of the transferring the ownership of the firstborn sons of all of Israel, exchanging that for possession of the tribe of Levite. But the second part here is interesting. We have the mention of the taking the cattle as well. There's no counting cows here, none of that going on. He is simply stating that he is going to exchange the cattle of Israel for all the cattle of the Levites. And I think that's probably to keep all the stuff together, that the Levites get to retain their cattle and it comes with them into the possession of the Lord, right? Numbers 342. So Moses numbered, as the Lord commanded him, all the firstborn Israelites. 343. But all the firstborn males from a month old and upward, as numbered, were 22,273. 273 more than the Levites. So the survey is completed and Moses has finished his count. And we see that there are 22,273 firstborn males in Israel, which is 273 more than the size of the tribe of Levi. So there is a discrepancy here. There is a difference. So there needs to be money paid to settle for that 273. They're pretty close in number, though, I would say. Between 22,000 and 22,273, that is like a really close number. I think that's just a little bit more than 1%, so it's pretty cool. Numbers 344. And the Lord said to Moses, 345, take the Levites for me instead of all the firstborn Israelites, and the Levites' cattle instead of their cattle, and the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. 346. And for those 273 who were to be redeemed of the firstborn of the Israelites, who outnumbered the Levites. 347. You shall take 5 shekels apiece, reckoned by the sanctuary shekel of 20 gerals. You shall collect them. So the exchange is going to be made and completed, and we see that because there's 273 people beyond the population of the Levites, that they need to be ransomed, they need to be paid for, and we see that the rate in which they are to be paid for is 5 shekels of silver each. So God has taken possession of the Levites. They are now his possession in the exchange for the firstborns of Israel. But the numbers don't quite line up. There's 273 more firstborns in Israel than there was in the population of the tribe of Levite. So they need to be redeemed. I really wonder how this was done. Like, did they have the Israelites, the firstborn of the Israelites, like meeting up with some of the Levites, and there was like an exchange going on, that it's like, I am being redeemed on behalf of this person here or something, and make like some sort of big event that way. And it could kind of be like sports in grade school where you're kind of pairing off, and then there's a couple people left over at the end that don't really have anyone left, and they have to pair up with the teacher or something, some sort of scenario like that. But I don't think it would be like that, because the logistics and the amount of work it would take to pull something like that off. I mean, it would certainly be epic, if it was like a personal redemption. It's like, Jack over here, he's gonna, be redeemed on my behalf or something. That would be certainly epic and incredible to see something like that, but I don't think that's how it happened. Now, they could take the number 273, divide it up, and each tribe, they get some lucky or unlucky individuals that are going to have to pay their way. Maybe it was something like that. Or, they just kind of did a bit of a collection, or maybe even the elder of the tribe just paid it, right? Like, it's doesn't exactly specify. Maybe it was an individual that was just determined that you didn't have anyone to redeem you. You got to pay this money. And he's like, oh, okay. Numbers 3:48. And you shall give the ransom silver of the excess number over the Levites to be redeemed to Aaron and his sons. 3:49. So Moses took the redemption money from those who were left over from the number who were redeemed by the Levites. 3:50. From the firstborn of the Israelites he took the money, 1,365 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. 3:51. And Moses gave the money from those who were ransomed to Aaron and his sons, as the Lord commanded Moses. So Moses collected the money for this ransom, and he gave it to Aaron and his sons so they could do with it what they needed to. I'm sure this was a nice event for the Israelites, for this burden of money that they would be owing the Lord would be wiped clean by the payment of their brothers in the tribe of Levi, so that they could be squared away.